So, Councillor Geary, thank you very much for spending some time with us to do this interview.
My pleasure.
Would you mind just briefly letting us know a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yes, I'm Andrew Geary. I'm leader of the Conservative group on Milton Keynes Council. As I think you've said, I represent Hanslope Park Ward, which is a large rural ward, large in area, quite small in population numbers, but on the rural north of the borough. I also live in that ward where I run a small family farm. I'm married with 2 children, and I'm a councillor as well, something I thoroughly enjoy doing.
Now, on the council, how many Conservative Party councillors do we have, and Lib Dems, and so on and so? What's the breakdown?
Okay, the makeup of the council currently is 21 Liberal Democrats, 20 Conservative, and 10 Labour. So it's very slender.
Right. And how has it been working with that kind of difference between the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, just one councillor seat?
Well, a no overall control council always has its challenges, and one of the biggest challenges is for whoever is leader of the council to actually work out how they're going to engage with the opposition parties in order to ensure smooth transition of business. And it's because of that lack of engagement by the Liberal Democrats that I think the council has spiralled into a state almost of terminal decline, whereby we ended up with the very poor ratings that have made so much headlines in the press just a few months ago. So yes, it's been difficult and it's been challenging, but I see our job in opposition as to challenge the administration constructively, of course, where we can, but when we feel their ways of working are just completely wrong, then we have to stand up and say so, and if they won't listen, then they have to take the consequences, as they clearly have done with the hit in the ratings that they've had.
Right. Now, in what you mentioned earlier on that you consider one of your roles as engaging with the Lib Dem leadership constructively,
yes,
and also challenging them in a constructive way where you feel they need to be challenged.
Yeah.
On what areas recently have you seen your side of the chamber challenging the Lib Dem leadership of the Milton Keynes Council at the moment?
There's countless examples I could give you, spanning across various different things. Children's Services is obviously the biggest one, which has made so many headlines because of our poor ratings given out by the annual performance assessment earlier in the year. That is one where we continue to work. As you're probably aware, we had an intervention upon us by the government, who told the 3 parties that basically if they did not sit down and start working things out together, then they would intervene and take us over. At that stage, I think we all agreed that there was no way that things could continue as they had been. Mercifully, the Liberal Democrat leadership changed and the previously disgraced leader was removed from office by her own party. The new leader, fortunately, does engage with us a bit more, and whilst we're still there in a role to challenge what they are doing, there is at least that sense of engagement now, which is absolutely necessary to run a no overall control council.
Right. Now, you mentioned in passing just a few seconds ago about the children's services,
yes,
and having had a pretty poor rating.
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit more. What happened there, and why would you say that happened?
There were a number of factors that led to children's services declining and going steadily down, and to a point where it almost got out of control. But the biggest single factor was the lack of political leadership that the administration had. Both the leader and the cabinet member responsible simply did not have a grip of their area and had no strategic vision for what Milton Keynes should be and how Milton Keynes should look, and how we're going to deliver first-class education and services for our children and young people. There simply was no strategic leadership and no strategic vision. And however good or poor your officer corps is, and it's very easy to hide and say, well, we didn't have officers to deliver it. Actually, officers can't deliver if there's no vision for them to deliver upon, and that was what was sadly lacking.
Right. Now, what there was the issue with the children's services. Yeah. What else would you say have been one of the critical issues that you've been trying to at least engage with the leadership of the council with, that's probably not paramount as you would expect at the moment? Okay,
let's talk about value for money and finances. Milton Keynes had a poor rating with its value for money, and still does, even though Milton Keynes Council has now improved from rock bottom that it was, and that's only since the Conservative Party started engaging, or started actually being accepted. We've always tried to engage. Our intervention wasn't welcome under the last leadership. With different leadership and a bit of leaning on by government to say you've got to start engaging, it is. but we're still being criticised because of our value for money. Milton Keynes Council does not manage taxpayers' money well. Don't just take my word for it, that's what the independent assessors say to us. The Audit Commission are constantly telling us that. And we're trying to challenge and saying, why are you not spending taxpayers' money well? Why are you not looking at radical ways of how we could do things differently and how actually we ought to be looking to adjust this? Not trying to trim bits off here and there and effectively micromanage down into departmental budgets, but looking at fundamentally different ways of delivering services. If you look around the country at the beacon successful councils that have done that, they deliver their services to their customers on a much better way than we do and at much better value than we do. We need to be looking at that, and I would say it, wouldn't I? But the beacon councils that I would look at are all run by Conservative controlled authorities.